Hey guys, and welcome back. Shout out to all of my subscribers. Appreciate you guys. If you have not subscribed, please make sure you hit that button as well as the notification bell so you can hang out with me every time I upload a video. All right, guys, so we're down to the wire. This is my review, Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 15. So we are on the last day of the couples retreat, and everyone's packing up to go. Taylor comes into Mika's room and she's telling her about the conversation that she had with Mike. And he basically was saying, that he was speaking for himself and Brandon, which I thought was very, not only weird, but very elementary. Like, that's something you do when you're in elementary school. You go send your friend over to speak up for you. But anyway, so she was saying that Mike was telling her that Brandon really likes her, he cares about her, but that his job has been getting on him about not showing up because of the show, and that he wants to talk to her when she gets home. Now, um, I'm a little confused about that simply because number one, and like I said regarding Brandon and this whole, Brandon has been using the excuse, or he's been saying from day one about being on the show, about production, about being filmed, and now he's saying that it's affecting his job. My thing is, when everyone signed up for this show, whether you were recruited, whether you signed up on your own, whatever the case may be, I'm going to assume that everyone signed the same contract. Everyone had the same paperwork, the same verbiage, and everyone was explained the same thing about how this show works, how production works, the time they're going to need from you, the schedules, all of that. So I'm very confused as to why is it Brandon seems like he's been blindsided and he didn't know anything. He just showed up and he didn't know that he was going to be filmed. He didn't know he was going to need time away from his job. Um yeah, I'm confused about that. And also, I hope that he's not just not showing up at his job. Like, who does that? You should have made sure that you had leave. You should have tried to figure out how you were going to work that out with your job because you know that you were going to be filmed. And I honestly, I mean, I don't know how much filming they do and then edit, but I'm assuming that production could have worked with you on your days off or before or after work. I'm pretty sure they're not expecting you to not only take off for the wedding and the honeymoon, but take off mass amount of days for filming. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So I don't know where that's coming from, but he seems to be the only one voicing that issue or those issues. So anyway, um, yeah. So Mike's having this conversation with Taylor, and he's saying that he feels like he and Brandon both need to do better showing affection and what they feel and all of this. And so, he knows that he needs to fix, his own relationship. So Mika was saying, that's all well and good, but she needs to hear that directly from Mike. He tells everyone else because apparently he's having conversations with other people, the other couples, and then they come back and tell her, "Oh, Mike likes you. Mike feels this. Mike feels that," and yet she's saying that whenever they're together, he doesn't express it to her. So yeah, it's good that you're telling everybody else, but now it's coming off as fake. Like you're trying to impress everyone else. You're trying to make it seem like, oh, it's not you. The reason why things are not working because you wanted to work. You're trying, but then when they get together, it's something totally different. So anyway, everyone's in the kitchen, they're getting breakfast, and Mike comes in. I didn't hear him speak at all. I've heard other people say, "Hey, good morning, what's up, whatever." I didn't hear him speak. He just got what he got. As soon as Mika walked in the kitchen, he walked out. He didn't say good morning, hello, nothing. Now, I don't know if he left out because she walked in, because he, at that point, he seemed like he gotten everything that he wanted. He got his drink, and He just left. He just left out. I'm guessing he was still kind of pissed off because remember, the night before they all were, at dinner, sitting down eating dinner, and they were kind of like interrogating him about where he was, what he was doing, about Brandon. 'Cause remember, him and Brandon left, and Brandon didn't come back, but Mike did. So that whole little situation, he probably was still pissed off about it and was just ready to go. But I mean, you still could say good morning, but he didn't. So Mika was telling Taylor, she was like, "This is what I'm talking about." As soon as I walked in, he left. Like no communication, no nothing. So they kind of hugged it out. They smiled. Meantime, Mike is outside. He is going to the car because they getting ready to go. Um, so Mika is just, she hugs everybody. They laugh, they talk, chit chat, and then she's on her way out. So I believe it was Mike, Mika, Derek, and Katie have their last dates before heading back home. Brandon never came back, so him and Taylor didn't. And I don't recall Jessica and Austin having a last day. I could be wrong, but I just don't remember if they did or not. Anyway, so Mike and Mika are on their way to an apple farm, and on their way there, they're not talking. They're not talking. They get there and she's trying to make small talk, but it's like he wasn't saying anything. She would talk and he's just throwing apples in the box. Like she's holding a box and he's picking them and he's just throwing them in there. So she's like, "Oh, I've never been apple picking before. All you hear is bloop." He throws an apple in. "Oh, Granny Smiths are my favorite apples." Bloop. There goes another apple. He's just tossing them in the box. He's not communicating. He's not responding. Nothing. So they get to. Apparently, they had like this little picnic set up, and they get bag lunches. I don't know if that came. I don't know if that was something from production setup or if that was part of the apple picking package. Like you, after you pick the apples, you sit down, you have a picnic, whatever. Anyway, they get bag lunches, and so Mike, they have like labels on. So the bags are staple shut, and they have like labels on it. I guess letting you know what's in the bag. So Mike looks at the labels and he puts Mika's bag down next to her. Like he's standing up the whole time. He never sits down. He's standing up. She's sitting down, and he just puts the bag next to her. He didn't say anything, nothing. So he pulls out. No, no, no. So she was like, "Well, are they the same thing?" Because she's assuming that okay, if it's different things in the bag, that he will at least say, "Hey, which one do you want?" This one has this. This one has that. So she was like, are they the same? Is it the same thing in both of them? And he he was like, nah, um, this one is chicken, like the one that he had. So she said in her confessional, she was like, dang, he didn't even ask me which one did I want. He didn't even. He just took whatever he want, and that was it. So I mean, he's pulling out pudding cups, and he's like, he's all excited over a damn pudding cup, but he's standing up talking. I mean, he's standing up eating the whole time. He wasn't talking. But anyway, yeah. So she was pretty pissed because he didn't ask her, which I thought was pretty rude too. Anyway, so he's eating. He then asked her, what was on her mind, and Mika just fires off. She was like, how she feels. He doesn't act like he wants it to work, and so he didn't really respond. Next thing you know, they're in the car on the way home, and she starts pointing out how he's been ignoring her, he's not talking, and about him putting in his earbuds, and that to her that translates as he doesn't want to be bothered. Because he was like, well, you haven't been talking either. It goes both ways. And she's like, well, why would I want to talk? When I try to talk to you, for first of all, you ignore me. Like, you walk in the room, you ignore me, you don't say anything. and then you're walking around with your earbuds in. So it's like you don't want to be bothered. Why would I try to go out of my way to hold a conversation with you when you appear to not want to have a conversation with, not only her but with anybody? So they go back and forth about who's been carrying the marriage, and he swears up and down he's been carrying it for the first 5 weeks. Because she was like, I feel like I'm carrying this marriage, I'm doing it by myself. And he was like, oh, really? Because the first 5 weeks, I feel like I've been carrying the marriage. So they just went back and forth about that. Um, but now they're back at home, and they talking. They're sitting in the living room, they're talking, and Mike brings up the fact that he felt Mika was not supportive when his uncle passed. So he was saying he didn't feel like she cared, she didn't console him when he cried about it, etc. Right? He's like making a big deal out of it. So Mika was saying, she understands he's dealing with, family issues, with the passing of his uncle, but that it doesn't stop them from working on their marriage. Like married couples deal with things, and when you're married, you're gonna deal with deaths in the family, and so, but she did admit as well as apologize that she could have handled the situation better when he told her that his uncle passed. And I guess it was kind of like when you're so frustrated and fed up, and it's kind of hard to give sympathy to someone who you feel is just not even giving you the bare basics. So I can understand why she probably was like, I'm over this. She probably didn't even believe him. I mean, seriously. So, but she, like I said, she acknowledged it. She apologized, and said that she could have handled it better. So, he was saying thank you. He appreciated that, and that's kind of where that conversation ended. But later on, all of the couples met with their family and or friends to talk about where they are prior to decision day. So Mike meets with his sister, and she mentions her conversation with Mika, because remember, her and Mika met up, and Mika was telling her how Mike's been lying, he's not being honest, blah blah blah. So his sister told Mike, um, yeah, I met with Mika. She talked about, you not being transparent, you lying. Um, and she basically was like, look, no, so he said he felt when he feels uncomfortable or if it's things he don't want to talk about, he either won't respond or he'll just make up something, if he's, oh no, he said he'll omit things. He didn't say, so he's not admitting to lying. He's saying if she brings up something he doesn't want to talk about, he will either ignore it, he won't respond, or he'll omit things as he's talking about it. So his sister was saying, okay, well, look, instead of you doing that, why don't you just say, hey, I don't feel comfortable talking about that right now? Because when you are not telling her the truth, it makes things worse, which I totally agree. But here's my problem with that. Why are you, well, how old is Mike? Is he 30? How old is he? Is he 31? 32? One or the other. He's older. He's too old for you to be sitting up here telling him, hey, instead of lying, how about you just say, you know what, right now, I don't want to talk about it. That's my concern and my problem with Mike. It's like, you're a grown ass man. You know better. He knows. He knows exactly what he's doing. And the fact that somebody has to sit up here and tell you not to lie, it's just, I don't know. But yeah, so she was saying, hey, why don't you just say that versus lying about it, because it makes the situation that much worse. And I think with Mika, now, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a time or two where he did say, well, I don't want to talk about it. But I think it was after he lied. Like, he lied, and she wouldn't let up. Like she kept asking him questions, and then that's when he was like, "Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore." But it was already, they were already having a conversation. He was already lying. So I think Mika, I, depending on the situation, because I feel like she would have been understanding if he said that. But then you can't say that all the time. Like at some point, you have to be able to have a conversation, have that open communication with your spouse. Every time they ask you something, it can't be, well, I'm not comfortable talking about it. So yeah. Anyway, so Mika meets with her mom, and she was telling her, about being frustrated, not feeling like he's been honest, and that she felt like she's really tried to make it work. She talked about his lying and her meeting with his sister, and how she explained why Mike is the way he is. So her mom was like, okay, well, do you feel like this is something that you can deal with long term? So Mika was saying, she didn't sign up to get a divorce. So later on, Mike and Mika, they go out to dinner because, like I said, all of them are going out to dinner prior to decision day. It's basically just to have that moment alone. So they go out to dinner, and it immediately starts off with Mika saying to Mike that she noticed, his work schedule. Like he's been home a lot more, and she wants to know what's up with that. He drops the bomb that he has put in his 2 weeks notice. Mika was like, okay, well, I didn't know that. And, we've been together 2 months, and this is your third job. So, of course, that's very concerning to her because, number one, she feels like as a married couple, that's something that you just don't go out and do that. It's something that you discuss and you decide together. You talk about it. So, Mika was saying she feels like, um, had she not brought that up, that Mike would have never told her. Meaning, she would have went into decision day not knowing that her husband, was going to be jobless. Which is, and see, that's where the frustration comes from. It's like, why would you not tell her that? And you know what? Okay, this is my thought on Mike and this whole job situation. So, Mike supposedly had a job when they got married. That's job number one. Then on the honeymoon, the second day of the honeymoon, he comes down. He announces to the group that he just got a principal job. Okay, that's job number two. When they come back from the honeymoon, he tells Mika, "Oh, that job didn't work out. I got another job that pays just as well, just as good. Everything's gonna work out." That's job number three, right? That's the job that he supposedly just put in 2 weeks' notice. And then there is the job at the yoga studio as a janitor. That's job number four that I'm assuming he still has. Okay. Here's my thing. Personally, I don't believe that Michael had any other job other than the janitorial job at the yoga studio. That's just what I feel. That's the only job that we've been able to confirm. I mean, not to say that because we don't, have any concrete evidence, but just looking at what has transpired on this show, because the offer letter that he showed me could seem like something he made up. It wasn't adding up. It seemed like it was something that he manufactured himself, and the way everything just went, just from the beginning to the dinner, it just seemed like none of those jobs were real other than the job at the yoga studio. And then he lied about that and said that he was an instructor. So I'm inclined to believe that Michael only had the job at the yoga studio. That's just my opinion. Okay. So anyway, he was saying that he just didn't feel like it was a good match. They weren't seeing eye to eye on things. They wasn't giving him what he wanted, and he just felt like um, it just wasn't going to work. So he decided to put in his 2 weeks notice. And so Mika was like, I agree. If you're not happy at your job, then yeah, you should leave. But you should also have a discussion with your spouse prior to doing so. Um. Anyway, so the mood kind of lightened a little bit. Mike was saying, no, she was saying that she felt like Mike doesn't like her. She was like, I feel if you not being open and honest with me is it because you don't like me? Like, if it was somebody else, would you still act the same way? And so Michael was saying, everything he said and he's done or lack thereof, he cares about her. He was like, she's important to him. He cares about her. He cares about their marriage, and he wants her to feel safe, and um, wants her to trust him. And he hasn't been doing a good job of expressing those things to her, but that is how he truly feels. So Mika was saying, and it was almost like as soon as he said that, she just melted. She was like, that's exactly what she's been wanting to hear, and that's all she's been wanting to hear, since day one, that he's trying and this and that. And I mean, like, straight chilling. So next thing you know, they start laughing and talking and playing, guessing games of their favorite drinks, and they seem to be having a very happy moment. Um, and then they're doing the cheers to new beginnings, and yeah, I was surprised at that, but okay. So anyway, they're back at home, and um, they're spending their last night together before decision day. So they're at home, and Mika was saying how she's feeling a lot more optimistic about their marriage, um, but she still is unsure of her decision. So they're in the bed and they are giving each other. Well, Mike was like, "Well, what letter grade would you give yourself on how you've been in this marriage?" So Mika was like, she gave herself a B. She feels like although she wasn't perfect, she really tried. She did her best. She thinks she did a good job. Mike gave himself a C plus. Um, and, he gave examples. Basically, he hasn't done everything. He hasn't been transparent. He hasn't always been honest. Etc. So then Mika was saying that what he's shown her in the past, 2 days is what she's been looking for the entire 8 weeks. And, that she feels she sees the potential. And it's like, my thing is, okay, so he showed you in 2 days. To me, he showed you in 2 days that okay, he's willing to put in 2 weeks notice without even discussing with you, that he's a job hopper. And you're telling me that with him just saying, "Oh, you're important to me. I care about you," that's enough to erase everything for the past 8 weeks? Like, I don't get it. I'm sorry, but all that Mike has done, because from what I'm seeing, Mike has done nothing but lied and been problematic up until dinner night when he revealed that he put in his 2 weeks notice. I mean, think about it, because the last day of the retreat, he's not talking to you. He's putting his earbuds in, which means he don't even want to hear what you have to say. When y'all were out there picking apples, he wasn't even talking. He wasn't responding. He's throwing apples in the boxes. Y'all get y'all lunch. He's not even giving you an option. He just giving you what he doesn't want. I'm just, and then on the way home, I mean, y'all having this argument, so y'all go out to dinner. This man tells you that in 2 weeks he's not gonna have a job, and all of a sudden you're head over heels. Make that make sense, y'all, because I'm confused. If anything, to me, that would have been like, you know what? I can't. You telling me you care, you telling me I'm important to you. I'm sorry. That's not enough to erase weeks and weeks of your behavior in your lives. It's just not. But Mika seemed to be, she was cool with it. I mean, and the thing is, I honestly liked them together. I think when he's not lying, I think they have a good time. But when it's bad, it's bad. When he's lying and they're arguing and she's like, pointing the finger and fussing at him, it's really bad. But it doesn't have to be. When they get along, I like them together. I do. But anyway, moving along. So Derek and Katie, they're on their way to their last retreat date. And while they're driving, they come across a turtle in the road. So Katie immediately turns into this 5-year old. I mean, she's, her got this baby voice, and she's like, oh, saving the animals on her bucket list. Now, if y'all remember, her bucket list previously only consisted of getting married, having a career, and having children. Now, all of a sudden, she got this bucket list. So she's screaming, acting all excited. So Derek pulls over, and she's in full little girl acting mode with the whiny baby talk. She's pouting her face, everything. So she puts the turtle. So she was like, oh, can we keep him, please? I mean, ugh. And it's so weird because she has this raspy voice, like she sounds like Peppermint Patty from Charlie Brown. It's just very raspy, and so it's weird when she's trying to talk like a little girl. So she's begging them, can they have the turtle? And he's like, yeah, this is Derek. This is right up Derek's alley. Like very, he's a big kid at heart, so he thought that was exciting too. Anyway, so she puts the turtle on the floor of the Jeep on her side, and they take off. So they arrive at the place. I think it's called Old House Vineyard, if I'm not mistaken. So they go in, they sit down, they have wine, they're talking about their issues, where they are right now, and decision day. So they make their way down the pier to some little spot where they have a lock with their name on it, their wedding day, and apparently you put your lock on the chain and you throw the keys in the water, and it's supposed to be symbolic of being together forever. Okay. Meanwhile, the poor abducted turtle is roaming around in the hot ass Jeep. Like y'all picked him up and then you got him in this Jeep roasting. So they end up letting the turtle go because they claim they call the turtle experts, which I mean, okay, turtle experts, but they said they did, and they were told that the turtle may not survive if they keep him and give him like processed pet food. Anyway, so now they're back at home and they're meeting up with their families. So Derek meets up with his dad and his sister. He's, telling them that he wants it to work. He's willing to take a leap of faith to make it work. So his dad asked him, what would make him say no? And Derek was saying that, their personalities clash sometimes, and that Katie can be too abrasive. And that, when he revealed his dreams and his bucket list, how she, basically frowned her nose up at it. She put him down. He felt like, she um, didn't want him to achieve these things. That, her whole thing was, how are you going to be able to do all these things and have a family too? So Katie met up with her dad and her stepmom. And when they asked her how things were going, she was saying, how things have been pretty bumpy. She talked about the drama at the retreat, with him sitting with Taylor and all of that. Her dad asked her what did Derek say, or what does Derek say when she tells him what she wants. And so she was like, she's not sure if he knows what to say or what to do. And her dad was like, well, sometimes it takes guys, a little longer to mature. And so Katie just cuts him off. Derek's a boy, dad. Um, and she was just like, she doesn't know if she has the patience for that. She was like, she asked the experts for, someone mature, that she was even willing to go up to 32, the age 32. So she said, she was kind of expecting a 30-year-old, and what she got was, a fresh baby face, Derek with a baby personality. So her dad was like, he asked her, he was like, are you always like this? Are you always this amped? And he was like, do you ever chill? Because the way you're acting, he was like, your behavior can scare a guy off. And I'm glad that he said that. Like, he said it in a fatherly type of way. Like, he wasn't putting her down or saying it in a mean, embarrassing way. But he basically was like, if this is what you're giving him, if this is what you're acting, then yeah, you may be scaring him off. Maybe that's why he's not giving you what you want. Um, yeah, so she was like, she, she likes him. She thinks he's a good guy, but she doesn't know if she sees enough potential to say yes. So later on, the next day, Katie and Derek, they go out to dinner, and they started talking about, the good moments, like the wedding day and their first month, the 1 month anniversary. And Derek was saying how, sometimes he's hesitant to express his concerns because, how she is, how she can just snap. Her is that he doesn't take initiative, um, the lack of connection between them, and she wants to have that emotional connection, and she's just not getting it all the time. Red flags that he sees is when Katie is really stressed and he doesn't like being around her during that time. So she was like, oh, well, that's something to talk about because, there are going to be times where I'm going to be stressed out. And sometimes, you're just going to have to be confrontational with me. And it's like, I don't know what it is, but she thrives off of confrontation. Like when they were on the golf cart that he stole that he stole the keys to, she was talking about, oh yeah, it seems like we get along so great right after we have a big fight. So it's like she gets off on that. I don't know. And there are people who they like the whole idea of break up to make up, argue to be lovey dovey afterwards. And she just seems like one of those people. But anyway, so they get home, and they get ready for bed. And in his confessional, he was saying that it feels Katie is always trying to find things, to mess it up. It's almost like she doesn't want it to work, so she's constantly trying to find things to bring up. Um, so they're in the bed, and she asks him to be raw and express his feelings, and he goes through this whole little. He doesn't know if they'll ever fall in love, but he wants to. He wants to feel that. He wants that with her. He wants it to make it work. Blah blah blah. Um, so he leans over, and he was like, no matter what, he has no regrets, and she agreed. So the next day, with all the couples, one person packs up and leaves because it'll be the night before, the day before decision day. So they're supposed to spend it alone, basically reflect on everything that has happened and make their decisions. So Derek, he's packing up to leave, and he pulls out some little book. It's almost like a journal that Katie gave him as a wedding gift, and he put down. He was like, okay, let's put down something, basically something on the bucket list. And he was like, to go sailing. Of course, she was like, no, I don't want that to be the first thing. So they agreed honeymoon to Greece if they end up staying together. So he yeah, so he packs up his stuff and he leaves. All right, so Jessica and Austin. Austin meets up with his. So they leave. They didn't have a last date before leaving the retreat. At least I don't remember. But anyway, so Austin meets up with his friend. He's telling him things are good. He mentioned the argument that they had about him traveling. Told him that Jessica said I love you, but he didn't say it back. And he basically was like, he wants to say it on his own terms. And he, in a previous relationship, when he did say it, his heart was broken. Like, they broke up soon after. So he's kind of trying to make it seem like that's why he's hesitant to say it. Jessica meet with her sister, and told her the same story about the argument of him traveling. Said that she told Austin that she loved him. He didn't say it back. So the sister was like, okay, is that a big concern for you? What do you think about that? Because you don't want to be married to someone who doesn't say I love you. And they were going back and forth with that. But later on, Jessica and Austin have dinner. And he asked her, how were things with her sister? Like, how was the meeting with her? And she was like, it was good. I told her that I told you I love you, and you didn't say it back. Um, and but she was saying how she's being patient, but whenever he's ready, she's whenever he's ready to say it, she's ready to listen to hear it. And he kind of mumbled. He was like, yeah, well, that kind of makes me not want to say it. Like I've been saying all this time, you keep pressuring him, it's a turn off. He's gonna be like, I kept saying he was gonna end up snapping and be like, look, he kind of sort of did by the end of the night. But yeah, so he was like, yeah, it kind of makes me not want to say it. um I will say it in my own time, when I'm ready. So then she brought up the whole traveling thing again. And he was like, look, I'm tired of talking about that. You know, with Austin, okay, sometimes I get the feeling that some of the couples are just putting on an act, like manufacture arguments sometimes or manufacture reactions. But for some reason with him, I feel like all of this is genuine. I really, really do. I feel like it's all genuine. He feels what he feels. I think that he's very open and upfront about it. When he puts his foot down and he's fed up, he lets her know that he is fed up. And he's very stern about it. Not in a threatening, aggressive, violent way, but he makes it very clear that I'm tired of talking about the same subject. And you know what, Austin? I'm tired of hearing about it. But anyway, so they go back and forth, and it seemed like maybe there was a lost in translation when, because her thing was, well, his thing was, look, I told you I had to travel for work. And her thing is, yeah, you told me, but you wasn't specific about it. My thoughts on that is, okay, when y'all had this conversation about traveling, now Jessica is a very particular person. And I'm surprised that when they had that conversation about him traveling for work, I'm very surprised that she didn't ask for details. I know I would have. I would have been like, how often? What is the process? How much notice do you get? I would have asked 1,001 questions. So I'm very, very surprised she didn't do that. And I'm wondering if she's asking now, if she's more upset about the fact that he did not say I love you back. And so therefore she's making a bigger issue out of the whole traveling thing because she's frustrated overall. I don't know. It's just what I'm thinking. Um. Anyway, so in his confessional, he was saying that he was tired of talking about it. Um. It's like Jessica's making it all about her. He's with his job. He was like, he told her he thought maybe the conversation was over, that she understood. because he's not going to quit his job just because she's going to be missing him a little bit. So in her confessional, she was saying she thinks Austin is being inconsiderate of her feelings and that the stress is really getting to them. So anyway, they're back at home and Jessica, they're in bed and she's saying that, it seems that tonight seemed a little off. He was like, okay, but you kind of shut down the dinner. Um, he was like, yeah, like I'm done. I'm over talking about it. I have to travel for my job. He was saying that he doesn't feel like she's supportive. Um, he explained to her how in the past, it was a big deal, a big thing for him to change careers. And, he feels like it was an accomplishment in his life. He put forth a lot of effort and he worked very hard to get where he is. And he doesn't feel like she's supporting him. So she was like, did I ever say that? Did I ever say I didn't? Oh, because he was saying too that he didn't feel like she liked his job, his career. And she like, did I ever say I didn't like your job? Did I ever say I didn't support you? And Austin was like, your expression, the way you continually express concern is what's giving me that you don't like my job. So she just kept going on and on. She was like, well, when did I say that? When did I say those exact words? And he was trying to explain to her it's your actions and your behavior. And see, this is the thing to me, with Jessica. Jessica, going back to the whole I love you thing too, she's all about exact wording. Regardless of everything that Austin has shown her, out of all the husbands, Austin has been, to me, in my opinion, very consistent. He's shown her that he cares. He showed her that he wants to be with her. He shows that he's considerate. He shows all these things, but she constantly overlooks it because he's not saying the words, I love you. With the situation with his job, her thing is, well, I didn't come right out and say the exact words, I don't care for your career, or I don't like your job, or I have a problem with you traveling. I don't want you to travel. Jessica, you don't have to say those exact words, but like Austin is saying, you're constantly bringing it up. Even after y'all had a conversation, he's not going to quit his job. Like, you keep bringing it up. So to him, it's letting him know that you have a problem with it. And she doesn't get that. She one of them types, she'll come in the house, slam doors, won't cook for him, go straight to bed, don't talk to him. But she feels like, well, if I didn't come in and say I'm mad at you, then how can you come to that conclusion if I didn't come out and exactly say it? Whereas anybody else with common sense would be like, you're in here slamming doors, you're not talking to me, I'm gonna assume you're pissed off about something. Anyway, moving along. So she flips it and she's like, she doesn't understand why he's, belittling her feelings. And so he said, she likes him being, she was like, I like you being home, and I want to continue to get to know you. It saddens me that, you'll be leaving. But, she never said that she didn't like his job or she didn't support him. So they're going back and forth, and like she's raising her voice. She's like upset, and she's upset because you can tell Austin was not. I mean, you can sense that he was frustrated and he was just over the conversation, and he wasn't trying to go back and forth with her. I just felt like Jessica wanted to keep talking and keep going back and forth until he saw things her way, or until I don't know, I don't know what she was looking for, because he's not going to quit his job. But it was like she wanted to argue about it and he wasn't, and I think that was bothering her. Thing is, what else is there to talk about? Okay, so he wasn't very transparent, he wasn't very detailed when he said I have to travel for my job. But at the same time, I mean, okay, he wasn't. You could have asked, you didn't. You assumed that if there was, an extensive time away, that he would have told you. Okay, That was just a miscommunication on both of your parts. He didn't give all the details. Maybe he felt like it wasn't necessary. I don't think he was trying to hide anything. I honestly don't think he did it on purpose. And you didn't ask for whatever reason. Okay. Now that it's all come out, now that you know he could be gone for an extensive period of time, you've discussed it, and that's that. I'm trying to figure out what else is there to talk about? And it's like she's not even talking about, okay, how they can make it work or what they can do during the times that he's gone. She wants to keep talking about the fact that he didn't tell her how many days he's gonna be. I don't know. It's just she. What is there to talk about? Like for real. Anyway, so the next day, she's packing up to leave. He's gonna stay at the apartment. She's packing up to leave, and it was kind of awkward, you know. He was just sitting on the bed watching her pack. He walked her out to the living room, and she was trying to give him their wedding album, I guess, to keep and look through, you know, because like I said, this is when they're going to be spending time alone by themselves to make a decision on whether or not to stay together. So I guess she was like, well, let me leave this photo album, because she is really, I think she's in shock, because up until this point, they've been pretty consistent. You know, they haven't had any major issues, major arguments, whatever. But this one is kind of, and he's really putting his foot down. He's really letting her know that he's, you know, he's irritated a bit. So she's a little concerned. So I guess she felt like if he looks through, keep the photo album, he looks through it, that would, I guess, remind him of happy times. And he gave her the album right back. He was like, no, I got all the pictures and memories in my head. He was like, here, you take it. So he gave it back to her. She took it. And he was like, let me get the door. He opens the door for her. No kiss, no hug, nothing. She walks out. He closes the door. And then in her confessional, she was saying, you know, she was looking for a kiss, and you know, he didn't give her one. And I'm like, why didn't you kiss him? See, Jessica, she comes off as wanting to be, you know, running things, and sometimes she can be, you know, bossy, but then she acts like a little teenage girl that has never had a boyfriend, doesn't know what to do. Okay, if he didn't give you a hug and a kiss, why you couldn't give him one? You know, it's like you're making a big deal out of things that you shouldn't be, in my opinion. All right, so Taylor and Brandon, not a whole lot with them. Brandon never came back to the resort, so Taylor was there with all of the couples. Of course, she didn't go on her last date because there was no one to go on with, and she goes back home. So she meets up with her friends, and she's telling them, you know, how she was telling them about the resort, the retreat rather, and how Brandon got into an argument with production. Um, you know, just basically how he was acting. And I noticed how she fails to mention the argument they had. Like she never. Now, granted, I know when you're venting to your friends, you know, a lot of times people don't want to tell what they've done or didn't do, or how they reacted. And I noticed that with Taylor. When she's talking to her friends, it's all about what Brandon is doing or not doing. And so this is what she did. Um, she was saying how Brandon, you know, told her he wasn't coming back, and you know how he texted her and was like, you know, have fun on a retreat and you know whatever. So her friends were like, you know, asking her, well, do you think things would be different off camera? Because he Taylor was telling them, well, you know, Brandon doesn't like to be filmed. He has an issue with, you know, the cameras, whatever. So her friend was like, okay, well, do you think things are going to be different, you know, off camera? And so Taylor was saying, you know, Brandon told her it could be different, um, because the cameras, you know, cause him stress, and that things are different when it's just the two of them. So they're showing clips from the security camera, excuse me, um, of them in the apartment. Now, here's my thing. The clips, what I gather from the security camera. Okay, yes, Brandon, they're spending time together while they're not filming, right? They're sitting on the couch, and what I am seeing is I'm seeing Taylor be more affectionate, more touchy feely, whatever. Brandon, by all accounts, when I'm looking, he's just sitting there. He was just sitting there. She's rubbing him on his thighs. You know, her hand is going up by the groin area. Um, they showed another clip, so they're hugging, but it's always her leaning in with the hug. It's always her guiding his hand. Like one point, she was laying across his lap, butt cheek hanging out, butt tooted up in his face, and he just had his hand like resting on her. He wasn't filling her up, nothing. She took his hand and was guiding it. What it was another time where she was laying on the couch and she just had her legs on him. She took his hand and was pulling it towards like her chest area. So to me, yes, he's coming over there, spending time with her, all of that. But as far as initiating intimacy, physical touching, all of that, from what I've seen, and this is the cameras are off. So this is who he is when the cameras are off. It's her being the initiator. I'm still not seeing where Brandon is trying to be intimate with her. And I also find it odd. Okay, he is coming over there, and she's saying that he told her things, be different when the cameras are off, and that he treats her differently. I don't understand that. Why? Okay. Normally, you would think that he would be this Prince Charming when the cameras are rolling, and then when the cameras are not rolling, that he's distant. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why you would act like you're not interested in your wife, or act like you don't want to be bothered with her for the whole world to see, but then be lovey dovey by her account when the cameras are off. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Um, and from what I've seen on camera, I mean, granted, like I said, I've always said Brandon has his own issues, whatever. But a lot of it, they're both equally at fault for what transpires on camera. Taylor antagonizes him, and then he just goes off on production. So yeah, I don't know. I don't understand them, but I'm like, who wants to be perceived as an asshole on national TV? That just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so Taylor still, so one of her friends is like, okay, what's going on with you? Because you still kind of seem like you haven't decided yet. Like, do you see yourself being with him? And she was saying, oh, he's such a different person. But then there are times where she'll say that they don't spend time together. So I don't know. I don't. I'm getting conflicted information from Taylor when she discusses their relationship. Because one minute is we don't spend that much time together at all, and then she'll turn around and say, "Oh, he's totally different off camera. We spend time together, and he's totally different." So I don't know. But anyway, Brandon never showed up back up for filming. So her friends are pissed. They're like, he's such a child. He's immature. You deserve better. But she's still like, oh, but I don't know. He's saying things can be different. I feel like this. If you're being mean to me, and this is from her account, because she's saying how he treats her when they are filming. Why would you want to be with someone who treats you, in your words, worse on camera, but then he's sweet and nice off camera? Why would you want to be with someone like that? That is craziness to me. So who is he trying to? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that is my review. When they show clips for Decision Day, they did show Mindy and Zach, which is surprising because Mindy already said that she didn't want to be together. I mean, she made that perfectly clear. So I don't know why they have to be up there on the final episode, decision day. But yeah, Zach is talking in circles and saying that he's feel like she was brought into his life for a reason. Mindy smiling. I hope she doesn't take him back. I hope she does not take him back. So let's talk about who we think gonna stay together. Who do we want to stay together? Who do we think is gonna say yes? Who's gonna say no? Okay, for me, Jessica and Austin. First of all, I don't want any of them to stay together. I just don't. I don't. Jessica and Austin. I'm not feeling Jessica, and I haven't for a minute. I want her to say yes, and I want Austin to say no. Because she made a comment, which I do believe, that she got way too comfortable and she just thought that she had it in the bag. Like, he's not going anywhere. Everything's going good. We're fine. And I think Austin is kind of getting sick of her bossy ways. It's been all about her. But who knows? You know, he can seem like he's over it and then choose to stay with her. But I want her to say yes. I want him to say no. Um, Derek and Katie, I do not like Katie. I I don't think Derek is without fault. I don't think he's perfect, but I don't think things are ever going to change. I think she's if they stay together, she's going to continue to just put him down. I really think that. I don't think she's going to change. So I want Katie to say yes and Derek to say no. Because I think she needs to be brought down a peg or two. Michael and Mika, I want both of them to say no. Taylor and Brandon, I want both of them to say no. I'm so over them. And of course, Mindy and Zach, I do not want her to change her mind. I want her to say no. And I really don't care what I really don't care what his decision is. I kind of want I don't know. I just don't want her to go back to him. So if he said yes or no, it doesn't matter. I just want her to say no. But anyway, those those are the answers that I want each person to give. So let me know what you think. Let me know who you want to stay together and how you want the decisions to go for each person. As always, thanks again for joining me, and until next time, take care.